Thank you very, very, very much, Desiree. Sorry for rushing you a little bit just by appearing on the screen. So maybe we can stop the screen sharing and then we can see each other. And I would like to invite participants to raise their hands for questions or maybe additions, your own experiences, maybe to Desiree. And maybe we'll start with Berenice. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Desiree, for showing us just a little part of the huge effort you have been doing for so many years on the guidelines. I will be interested on the operationalization of the guidelines. How are you actually implementing them in the different countries you are working with? And also, I would like to ask if you took into account these other frameworks with the skills, for example, education for sustainable development skills or the current future skills that are more oriented to soft skills, but also transformative skills and all these new frameworks. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to respond to that one right now? And then we'll just take questions one by one, maybe.
Okay, thank you, Berenice, for your question. So with regard to the operationalization of the guidelines, I think some guidance was provided by the African Union, but also by the institution on how some institutions, some research institutions should proceed to operationalize the guideline according to their own realities. So it's really important to make sure that when you develop your guideline, it should be first of all, approved by the member states. And the role of African Union, you know that I mentioned at the introduction that the African Union endorsed the guideline itself, and is trying also to gain experience on how, to gain feedback on how the guideline has been operationalized from one country or from one university to another, to see how we could keep it dynamic according to the different contexts in Africa. We do have the Africa Land Policy Center, ALPC, which is mostly responsible on the technical following up on the lesson learned in the process of operationalizing the guidelines. Up to now, we haven't done a kind of clear assessment, but we do have a kind of informal feedback from various institutions or universities which have been trying to operationalize the guidelines according to their context and to their realities. I would advise that we somehow try to come to a kind of midterm review on what has been done, which lesson has been learned, and if it's important also to reactivate, to keep this dynamic aspect of looking at the guidelines. I hope I've answered to that question. Now, the matter of skill bearing is a wonderful one, but a difficult one to answer to. What I can say here is that all the skills are needed. You need skills from the law, you need skills from the geography, from the history. So all the skills are needed. Important question is to know if the skills contribute to provide solution-oriented according to a context. This is what I would say. But I cannot give a kind of fixed answer. As soon as the skill brings some kind of innovative solution to the answer or to the problem, I think it's quite needed in the land governance and management system. So thank you. Back to you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. We've got two questions. Eunice Sapong, you raised your hand. You also asked something in the chat, so you may just say what you asked in the chat. And after that, Dr. Diallo. Please,
Thank
Eunice.
You. Thank you. I was asking if later Dr. Desiree can share the link. Now to my main question. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation. I want to bring our attention to the post-independence context that Dr. talked about. I think most governments are trying to harmonize these two systems. And I so appreciated when he walked us through the history for us to understand the complexities of why we are here now. when we talk about land governance or land systems in Africa. But my concern is, or my question is, in our attempt to harmonize these two systems, which is customary and so-called modern or state-led land systems, it has led to us introducing the land reforms. My question is, we see most of these land reforms still have concepts, or let me say concepts or ideas which are still based on Western ideologies of land systems, which doesn't kind of suit what we have worked on. When I say what we have worked on, in terms of where we were, our customs, our traditions. So how do we navigate this system now that we are talking about a toolkit for land governance? Since most governments now are focusing on land reform, how do we navigate the systems to address these complexities we have in our land systems? Thank you.
Okay, over to you, Desiree.
Yeah, thank you. This is also a very actual question, Sapo. I would just take to answer to your question, how do we navigate to harmonize the system? Objectively, I would say there's no perfect system. There are just elements in each system that are good or that could be easily, which are having some kind of positive element for the so-called modern, as you said, and traditional law system. I think last week, the Cameroonian government endorsed a law stating that before having a kind of land title in a rural area, the owner of the land title should have an approvement or the approvement letter from the traditional chief. This is also an attempt to harmonize. Another practice will be maybe the fact that in some region, mostly in the northern Cameroon, in the past, women couldn't have access to land. To land title or land ownership. But currently, when a woman can be put in the place to buy the land, she will be the owner. So I would say that there's a kind of mixture between this free market system, capitalistic system, social system that are very good. But how to harmonize it? I think this is also one of the aspects we need to capitalize in the future to see according to which context, to which countries, which are the best practice that could be shared to other countries. Yeah, to see we have tried to mix or to take this element from the customary law, this other element from the modern law, we brought it together and we have a kind of positive results. So this is what I can give you as an answer. The history also determine, of course, our current situation in the land management of law, and we cannot get rid of the history just like that. It's a matter of a process of learning, and the land management system is quite dynamic. We cannot just from scratch say, okay, from today we'll just adopt the customary system, whereas we already have some people who have benefited from the so-called modern system and so on. So it's a learning process, and we should just be put in a situation whereby we can learn from one system or from one context experience and try to share it from the others, or motivate other people to get enlightened from this context as well. That's what I can provide as I give you as an answer, Sapon.
Good. Thank you very much for providing an answer to that question. So I think a lot of the guidelines that you have developed are really providing the frame on how to deal with questions, but not necessarily responding to the question. So I appreciate very much that you provided the answers to the questions, the content questions here as well, which I think is a great contribution from you. Cool.
So,
thank you.
I agree, Hannah. It's a guideline. Yeah. It's not a radical framework, so to say. So according to the experience of a context, people know what they should do, but they can also say, okay, in our context, it could not work. So it's just a guideline. Guideline doesn't mean that it's a kind of framework, strong non-flexible framework. Yeah, so I strongly agree with you. Yeah. It depends now to the current stakeholder to see, okay, according to our context, what could be the best solution for us.
And the guideline basically says, don't forget this important
Yeah,
topic.
don't forget
It's
this.
there,
Pay
right?
close
It's
attention
there,
this
and it's got
aspect.
these
Yeah,
different aspects.
that's
Yeah,
it.
that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I feel very sorry that I had to cut you a bit short with the later guidelines, you know, because there were quite a lot of very interesting ones as well that we could have gone further in depth. And just to remind you, Desiree, Eunice also requested a link to your website so that we don't
Let
forget
me
to
share
maybe
it
put
now.
that into the chat also
Yeah.
during this. And now I would like to give the word to Dr. Diallo. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Desiree, for this presentation. Can I speak in French, please?
Yep, I'm sure that he will
It's fine with
understand.
me. Yeah. It's fine with
Please
me, of
do.
course.
Yes, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup, merci Dr. Désiré pour cette présentation. C'est vraiment intéressant dans le contexte africain. Donc, l'implémentation des cadres et lignes directrices de l'Union africaine, c'est vraiment une problématique qui revient, c'est une question qui revient à chaque fois. Maintenant, pour le contexte africain, je voudrais insister un peu sur le contexte sénégalais, qui est un peu complexe et difficile parce que tout simplement depuis 1964 on ne paraît pas avoir une politique foncière correcte, avoir un cadre vraiment juridique qui répond aux exigences actuelles au plan économique, social, culturel, etc. C'est vraiment compliqué. Donc je voudrais poser la question de savoir comment est-ce que donc ces cadres et lignes directrices de l'Union africaine pourraient vraiment accélérer et aider le Sénégal à élaborer et mettre en œuvre des politiques foncières, donc adaptées au contexte actuel. C'est vraiment très complexe, d'autant plus qu'au Sénégal, par exemple, nous avons le problème de concilier, par exemple, la légalité et la légitimité. Autrement dit, la conciliation entre droits fonciers formels et droits fonciers vraiment légal, c'est vraiment un problème criard. Donc, on a ce problème-là. Donc, les droits fonciers coutumiers sont là. Il est très complexe de concilier ces droits-là avec le cadre légal et institutionnel. Donc, je voudrais savoir, selon votre expérience, selon l'expérience de l'Union africaine, comment est-ce que vous comptez vraiment aider? Parce que ces pays-là ont besoin d'aide en matière d'expertise, en matière de conseil. C'est vraiment urgent parce que moi, je suis sur le terrain. Je sais vraiment comment ça se passe. Vraiment, je voudrais avoir votre point de vue par rapport à cette problématique-là. Merci encore une fois pour cette belle présentation qui va certainement aider à régler un certain nombre de problèmes. Merci encore une fois.
Voilà.
Over to you.
Maybe I will translate into English so that those who are not French speaker can also have an overview or understand what it's about. With your permission, Hannah.
Yeah, sure.
So it's close to the to Sabon question. Yeah. Dr. Ahmed is saying that in Senegal they are now facing a kind of challenges of bringing together the two system, the customary and the modern system in the management of land in Senegal, because there are a lot of opposition. And his question is to us now how to bring them closer, if we do have any type of experience in the African region, whereby we can share so that the Senegalese government can get inspired out of it. Voilà. Bon, je ne sais pas si je dois répondre en français ou en anglais. Je dirais déjà, en anglais, ça va. Good. Wow. Okay. So I will answer in English. Good. So, we do have good case studies. I will take the case of Zambia, the case of Botswana, and whereby the system they used, Dr. Diallo, was to bring together stakeholders from the customary, but also some kind of expert of the land, of the modern land system, to see which elements could be brought of this customary and the social land management system could be brought together without creating a lot of conflict. This was the approach of Botswana. In Zambia, they had another approach. It was from learning out of the experience. It means that maybe if they had some kind of conflict happening in a region in Zambia, they tried to learn from how the customary system was used to solve the problem, and now to turn it into a law which would be endorsed into the modern system. So I think there are a lot. I think also in Zimbabwe they are also doing. You know, in Mugabe's time there was this conflict also on land access and so on. There are a lot of best practices, but as I mentioned earlier, there is no fit for purpose solution. So according to one context, because what works in one context could not automatically work in another context. So it's really advisable to make sure that out of the concept of Senegal, for example, you try to see which type of challenges we faced, which type of solution were brought, and how do we learn from this solution to make it legal so that in the future, those stakeholders or villages or localities that will be confronted to this type of challenges might be having this type of approach of solving a solution. That's what I can maybe provide as an answer now, Dr. Ahmed Diallo.
Thank you very much for giving these examples. Okay, you get a thumbs up. We've got two more speakers or questions, raised hands. Maybe if both of you can also ask quick questions, and Desiree, you can provide a short answer because our time is starting to run out. So Peter, I'll give you the word.
All right, thank you so much, Desiree, for the impressive presentation. When we were responding to Ajua's comment, you talked about the case of Cameroon, where government is now using traditional authorities. I want to also take from the case of Ghana, where in an attempt to reform land, now land, like in many African countries, is now a commodity. And in the process of that commodification, the customer land right has been diminished, and now land is a commodity. And because of that, it's bringing new problems, new challenges, where even the traditional leaders are now engaged in double sales of land because it's now a commodity, unlike the previous law. So I'm just wondering how we can actually overcome such a challenge. That is one. The main question has to do with the guideline. I want to know, is there any specific practical component of the guideline? Because when I was, all that you were presenting is more of theoretical, understanding, but is there anything that is more practical about the guideline, or any component of it that you think is more practical?
Okay.
Yeah, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So the case of Ghana is also a wonderful situation. But I think in Africa, we used to say, if during your work you realize that you are getting lost, don't be afraid to come back to your early paths. It means that if in Ghana they are now facing a crisis, it's time for them to see, okay, to do a kind of critical analysis of the system. How was the land system managed before the current law or the current system, political land management system? What were the good sides of it? And what were the, or maybe also to question how it has led to this type of challenges they are facing. And now to also try to do a kind of assessment of the current challenges and to bring on board all the different stakeholders from the traditional perspective, from the scientific, from the government, from the legal and so on, to now see how they can maybe draft out a system which will address and bring out some kind of innovative approaches on how to go with this type of challenges. So I'm quite convinced that out of these guidelines I've just presented, they can find some kind of element on how they can maybe question or reorganize everything. So to the practicability of the guidelines, our program SLGA has supported a lot of review or development of curriculum guidelines. I think we have almost more than 20 curriculum developed. So we have supported the process of reviewing more than 20 the curriculum guidelines across the continent in various universities. So it's quite practical. It's not just a kind of theoretical framework. A lot of university feedback were that out of the guidelines, because of the element provided in the guidelines, they were able to draft out the curriculum review in their related universities. So it's a practical document, and I strongly encourage you, Peter, to go and read it, and I will appreciate you have your feedback later on. But also you can ask Berenice. I think Berenice and the team in Bonn, they have tried also to develop a kind of modules out of the curriculum review. They can also share their experience with us later on. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That leads over to Mona Lisa immediately. So, Mona Lisa, you have the honor of asking the last questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Desiree, for such a detailed presentation. My question, probably, I would say the first part will be around any debates during the development of the guideline when it comes to the balance between the local context as well as the, I would say, international best practices. Because I am thinking, I think you mentioned at some point something to do with, let's say, use of remote sensing, GIS technology. So in the instance whereby looking at these, I would say, local contexts, there are always issues when it comes to data availability as well as technologies. So how then does the curriculum guide when it comes to that?
Yes, unfortunately, I didn't go through that chapter, but I also encourage you to go to it's the last one, huh? It's the last one on maybe with your permission, Hannah, on research and innovation. So go through this this chapter, Mona Lisa, and it will tell you which type of element you need to consider on this data. But the matter of data is really important because it's not only related to GIS and other, it's also a matter of political. They are very sensitive. Huh? A lot of countries, they don't like to share their land data because of geopolitical matters. I will not try to investigate further on that. But I saw not only geopolitical matters, there's also corruption in land, and the more you don't know a subject, the better corruption could also be strongly encouraged in the area. We are living in a globalized world, but we strongly value the fact that it's important to develop a kind of bottom-up approach. At the AU level, we have developed these guidelines, which got endorsed, but it's not like a radical way of implementing things. It should be implemented according to the realities on the field, taking into consideration the principle which were described here. So this balance between local and international context is really important to consider, because you cannot just be developing your different elements from your context perspective without taking into consideration the global challenges. Yeah, climate change, for example, is a global challenge. You cannot just develop your guideline without taking into consideration the impact of climate change on agriculture, the impact of conflict, the impact of accesses arable land or fertile land. So all these things goes hand in hand, and the more you have a kind of global approach, the better it is to develop your guidelines. Okay, I hope it was a short answer, Hannah. Thanks a lot for all your questions.
I have one more question in the chat. There's one quick question in the chat. Maybe you can, you're from Zakaria, from Abram. So maybe you can actually answer it with a yes or no. Does the toolkit include samples of questions or questionnaires that will help to guide the researchers?
I would say a questionnaire, no, but best practices from other countries, yes.
Okay. Good. I understand it also so that your group or the NELGA is also supporting the curriculum development. If somebody, if a university wants to develop a curriculum on some of these topics that the guidelines address, then they can always get in touch with your office and then also help setting them up, and then probably also Abram and others. Then there will be also the option probably for more case studies and questionnaire samples, etc., coming up. If I see that right.
We got it. But the request should come via the African Land Policy Center, because our project is coming to an end at the end of this year. So we can support you and link you up, because ALPC is the technical organization unit responsible in this process of supporting the development or the review of curriculum on land governance. So don't hesitate to ask us to provide you guidance on how to support to proceed with this. If you are willing to develop or to review your curriculum, review in the land governance sector, do not hesitate to contact us, please.
Cool. Thank you very, very much for that offer also. I have the impression that all questions are asked and all answers are recognized and appreciated very, very much, Desiree. This is so much to talk about. We could have filled 2 hours easily. And I felt very sorry that the details, you could not really give all the details that you had to prepare to share with us. But I think for us, it has been a very good teaser on what you have done and the wealth of the information that is in the guidelines and in the entire process of the land governance review. I would like to also thank Berenice for setting up that link to NELGA and to SLGA. So that we could benefit from your knowledge. And you've seen in the questions that there was really great interest from our participants. Thank you very, very much again for your time, and stay in touch.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you to all the participants. The link has been shared in the chat, so they can also have access to the toolkit itself. Thanks again, and I hope I will be invited next time for further discussion.
Thank you very much.